Right, I'm going to start by getting to the national database on our school system. So if we go to LC here, these options here would let you have some quick data. You really want to go into the heart of the data, so that's the table generator. We're going to agree to those terms. And so the type of data that you want to pull, you could either compare states across the country, congressional districts, counties, school districts, or actually at the school level, public or private. Let's do the public here. And I'm going to grab a few different years worth of data. I want you to grab at least 5 years of data. I recommend maybe not grabbing the most recent year just because they won't have the budget info, and then you'll have to deal with some missing data issues. But the next 5 most recent would be great. And then you have all these variables, categorical and quantitative, that you can pull on every school in the country. They give you the school name and state name default, but other than that, you choose what you want. I'm going to grab the county name, and this will help me kind of filter out which schools I actually want. And contact information, this is the school address, latitude, longitude. If you are plotting things on a map, that's really useful data to have, but I'm not going to do that here. I might get, I could look at the grade levels here. Actually, I think I'm just going to grab all the schools in the county for now. One thing I do want is the total number of students at each school every year. This will let me see how the school sizes compare and how they change over the years. Students in special programs, so free and reduced lunch is one of the best, one of the most used, I shouldn't say best, variables for poverty. So I want to grab that for each of the years. And maybe take a look here at race. I'm going to look at Asian, Hispanic, Black, and maybe pupil-teacher ratio. So that's how many students per teacher. That's a pretty important characteristic of a school. I think I'm going to just leave it at that for now. You could certainly go around there. I do want you to choose at least 3 variables other than the school and state name. So what I'm going to do now is filter by county. And I'm going to look at the county where I grew up here, Logan County, Ohio. Go ahead and create that table. And I'm just going to skim through here, make sure, yeah, these are the schools that I was looking at. And if I skim this way, I see the variables I want. So I want to get this, I guess you could cut and paste from this table. That would be fine. I'm going to put it out to a CSV. If you don't have Excel, you can open the CSV file in Sheets. That'll be perfectly fine. And next thing I need to do is clean this data a little bit. So I'm going to get rid of the headers there. The totals, notice I don't care about totals here. I want individual schools. So I'm going to take all of this out. Okay, and what I'm going to do is take a look at just the high schools. So I'm going to go ahead and delete everything else. Notice, by the way, you could choose your filter by school, and then you could just specifically choose the schools that you're interested in, and you wouldn't have these other ones to delete. Notice this high point. This is a joint vocational school in the county I grew up in. Notice all the zeros. Even more problematic is this symbol right here. What that is missing data. What will happen when we put that into the data visualization program is that it'll just ignore this variable. So it's really not a good school to choose anyway, because it's not going to show up later. So I'm not going to include that. So here I have the 4 high schools that were in the county where I grew up. So I have some data for each year, and what I now need to do is get it into a format that will be much more usable. So to do that, I'm going to have to create some clean data here. And I got the years, I believe, 2015 down to 2011. So I got 5 years worth of data. Notice that I did the years backwards. That's because if you look up here, the years are appearing from most recent to least recent. So when I copy from this data down to here, it's going to be in this order. So it is very important that you put that highest year first. And then next I had free and reduced lunch. I'm just going to call that poverty actually. And I had Asian, Hispanic, Black, and pupil teacher ratios. Although notice I didn't have any data here. So it's very possible that that variable won't show up. Okay, now to get the one thing I forgot was the school name here. So I now need to put in this information for each year for each school. So let me start with Bellefontaine. I'm going to paste that, copy it down, and then I'm going to get notice what I'm doing here is I'm getting the 5 years of data for the total students at the school. And, don't have that. That column either. And if I paste it like this, it's going to go across these numbers. Really what I want to do is get pasted down here, because these are the totals for each of the 5 years, not the totals for each of these variables. So the way I do that is when I paste, I go to this thing called a transpose. You could also go to paste special, transpose. Then I get the same thing for the free and reduced lunch here, paste special, transpose, Asian students, paste special, transpose, and I continue this process until I have all of Bellefontaine's data in there. Then I do the same thing. Just going to cut and paste these years here. Do the same thing for Ben Logan and Indian Lake and Riverside. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, I've got them all pasted in here. As I was pasting them in, I noticed a couple things I think are worth mentioning here. One, Riverside had a value of 0 for poverty in 2015. I know that that is not a correct value. Look at the number of students who were on free and reduced lunches in the preceding years. So what that means there is they haven't gotten their data in yet for that particular year. I could handle that a couple different ways. if I put a 0 in here, it's going to look like there was no poverty. That's certainly not correct. I could take out Riverside in 2015, the entire thing. I think I'm going to opt for that, and we'll see what happens when it actually maps out the school. I could have also given it the value of 310, which would have been okay for the overall map, but it would have been inaccurate data, and I'd rather not do that. Now, on the other hand, this 0 here, so 2014, the number of Asian students at Riverside High School, that 0 probably is accurate, so I'm going to leave that. I do notice that it's pushing, and the number of black students also. Riverside is not a diverse school, and it looks like it wasn't diverse when I went in the county, and it looks like it hasn't diversified much since then racially. I'm not sure why the 0 is floating over here. It's treating it as text instead of a number. Let's go ahead and pull that into the program and see if that causes any problems. If it does, I'll come back out here and adjust it. Also, like I mentioned, the pupil teacher ratios, I could just get rid of 2015 altogether. That way I would definitely be able to see the pupil teacher ratio, but let me just leave it in. I want to have as many problems as I can on the video, just so you can see how I handle the problems in case you come across the same problems. So right now I have the data in the format I want it, and now it's time to actually go and import it.